Hollywood nowadays.
Underestimate Hollywood's ability to learn the wrong lessons from a problem. At a time when the global box office hit 30 billion, which is down 11.5% from the previous year, if you remove China from this figure, simply because they're such a huge outlier, you end up at $21.2 billion. That's 19% down on the previous year, despite the fact they released almost 200 more movies.
Hilarious.
And if you go back just 5 years to 2019, you have lost almost half of your entire box office around the world, despite there being a similar amount of movie releases between the two. Now, there are many legitimate and actionable issues that you could look at to solve this problem. You could turn it around, but Hollywood has spent so much time filling their industry with incompetence that they now are either incapable of noticing this or simply unwilling to because it would hit a bit too close to home. That's how you end up with them explaining the box office drop away by going, well, it's just no longer good enough to have good movies. Yeah, nobody likes good movies anymore. That's what Hollywood has learned. You can't just have a good movie anymore. No, now you need a reason for people to go and see the movies. You need some kind of hook, which really implies it needs some kind of gimmick to get people to go along. Simply isn't true. Because the question comes, how are you defining good movies? And it turns out they're going, well, looking at the Rotten Tomatoes scores, those bastions of journalistic integrity, the ultimate deciders of taste,
Jesus,
Rotten Tomato critic,
why are you doing that? Man, why do these people keep fucking shooting themselves in the goddamn foot?
I only enjoy
why are they so fucking retarded?
When they finally decide to not like something. The site that gave Willow 84%. The Chads.
A mother gives birth. Her body makes milk for the child.
Stop, please stop.
It's nourishment. It's the part of himself that he gives to us.
Loved Ahsoka, and thought The Last Jedi was one of the best movies since sliced bread was invented. Just because Hollywood thinks something is a good movie doesn't mean it does. In fact, I think the problem is that when they say it used to be good enough to have a good movie, what they mean is we could coast by with just average run-of-the-mill things, and people would go and see them. Quite simply, there's too much competition for that now. And so while you get the hits of Wicked, Inside Out 2, and Deadpool and Wolverine, which as the distribution people have said, they definitely needed those hits to work, because otherwise last year would have been awful. It was basically only around November when they realized people were coming back to see different movies, rather than just going to the cinema to see one specific movie and not coming back ever again. And Hollywood don't know what to do because the attitudes have changed.
I mean, I stopped watching movies from the movie theater for a while ago.
Don't know how to exist in a competitive environment.
I'm busy. I don't have that much. I've just been doing schoolwork or just looking at news or playing video games. Yeah.
Middle class movie rather than them making it.
And then I have what, Amazon Prime, so I can just watch movies there. It's like,
and he thinks the takeaway from that is the business needs consolidating, and basically only a few people should exist within the industry. So you want to get more.
You just don't want to? I mean, I'm already paying for Amazon Prime. Also, why would I drive? Why would I drive up the street?
Competition from the rest of the world doesn't sound like a good plan to me. Hollywood relied on being
I don't have any. I don't even watch any movies nowadays.
I need to be part of pop culture.
I haven't been to the movie theater since
third weekend to make that choice. You want to hear from their friends, a social community, rather than a
man, it's been a
critic.
while.
And the takeaway they have.
What was the last thing I
we
saw?
need more movies. At no point.
I think it was Venom.
Why has this audience changed? What is it that has caused them to change? Why have their attitudes changed? Instead, they just notice the change and think, how can we manipulate them? It's almost like audience behavior to them is just a mysterious, ethereal thing that they have no influence over, and haven't thought, maybe they don't trust professional critics because they were lying to them. Maybe it's because the professional critics aren't relatable to the audience. They have the same taste as the audience, and so they don't trust them anymore. They wait to hear from friends or a social community because they know those people won't lie to them, and they know they have the same taste. I mean, you could fix this by getting professional critics who know what they're talking about, or making good movies so that you don't need to trust the critic. You know the movie will be good most likely. Instead, they think if people aren't going to the movies as fast, we just need more movies to fill the gaps. They are sticking a plaster on a gaping wound.
Yeah,
and don't see
that
any
doesn't
issue
sound
with it.
good.
And the international box office is kicking the crap.
It sounds like
out
what the
of
video
Hollywood
game companies are
going,
doing.
Europe did a hell of a job this year.
They try to make they plan out a bunch of projects, and then half of the projects fail.
in dollar terms.
Because some of the games that they
-2% in
made,
actual currency,
some of the
but
games that they
0.3
made
off simply
fucking
because of an exchange rate difference
just
by
fall
0.3%.
flat.
Tons of heavy lifting there.
Especially
You
some
can
of the
see
online services
desperation.
that they thought that were
And it
gonna
comes from places
survive.
like in the Asian markets. In Indonesia, their admissions increased by 10% last year, but local films accounted for 65% of the share.
Yeah,
of
like
their
a lot
entire
of these,
cinema market.
yeah,
More people
just
are going
like
to the
movies,
cinema,
some of
but
these
only
people
'cause they're
did
not going
not
to see
ask
things
for this
Hollywood made.
shit.
This isn't because they needed a hook
It's
to
not
get
what
them
they're in the
there.
mood
It's just,
for
well,
to
their
watch
entertainment's better. They know they're
or
more
play
likely to get their money's
or
worth.
even look
And even
at.
that, the execs think those
Or
films
maybe
are going
the
to continue
story
to
is
get
just
made,
crap.
and they're making stories about things people can relate to. This is going to be one of those moments where someone can be so close to correct and then just swerve off at the last second to destroy their own industry. And the key part is how you think that people relate to things.
Yeah, just
So
look
the
at
article
Ubisoft.
continues, there's also less
Fucking
pressure on the local films to deliver something as polished as a studio title. And the talent is very well locally known. They still think that people are going to the cinemas to
Even
see the
Sony's
actors
getting
in them. That hasn't
Sony
been true since we found them
PlayStation's getting a
talking on
little
the
bit
internet.
of some issues too.
I
A lot of these
CD
CD
And
Projekt
it's not that
Red
these
getting
people
some
have
issues
lower
too.
standards. It's like, oh no, Hollywood's obviously making the best stuff. But people are just willing to accept less. They
You
know
got
they're
Hollywood.
inferior to us, and that's why
Yeah,
they'll lower their
entertainment
standards.
as a
The
whole right
attitude
now
is
is it
disgusting,
seems
when
to
really
be
what it comes
getting
down to is
fucking
people
hammered.
can relate to it. The industry of Hollywood, the values of Hollywood, the values of people that make it and put it into their stories, no longer represent people in other countries. It's got far too extreme and far too localized to America. And so the
It's too
further you
localized
spread
to
out
America.
from sort of the western area of the world, the less they can even relate to you at all. And the more
Yeah.
Hollywood becomes insular and doubles down,
Right, they
trying to piss off
don't.
the
They're
other half of their
not.
country,
They're
there's
not
almost
going
an
to these
exponentially
other
growing void
countries
for the
and
rest of the
seeing
world. This
what
is
their
important when
culture is
stories are
like,
how
and
you
then
pass
making
values down to the next generation.
making a
How you
movie
teach people
based
to cope with
or
tough
surrounding
situations
right
in a safe environment
multiculturalism
without
in that
actually
sense.
forcing them to go through the
Instead, they're
experience.
just
There's a reason
making
why
it
stories have been
localized
told
to
for
what
thousands of years
they
around
where they
campfires,
live,
why we find
which
value
is
in them,
America.
and find them comforting, because there's an evolutionary advantage to it. In this, no, you just need to relate to them. It's just because they're Asian, so obviously they like Asian people in their movies. This is literally
and
as
then you have
complex
like
as
the
Hollywood
what
thinking goes.
the
They
white
look like
savior
me.
the
That means
white
I relate to 'em.
saviorism
And yes, well, I do think most of the representation
bull crap
is simply
that
people within Hollywood
some
playing their own identity group to get future work.
some
Just
movies
because it's all
do.
based on self-interest and ego doesn't mean
I
it's
don't
not
think they do it
destroying
on
the
purpose. I
industry.
think they're
What
just
happens
trying
in the
to
industry when you hate the most
put in a
competent
point,
people?
but who
Well,
knows?
This is why
You
the
never
gap
know what
between
some of
what works
these
and what doesn't is getting larger and larger.
screenwriters
Because the difference in moral
are
systems is
doing
getting larger and larger.
and
And the more that Hollywood
producers
doubles
are
down on
doing.
things like representation, the wider that gap will continue to become. To an
You
international
will only know
audience,
why
they don't really
they
care
did the
whether
thing
you're
they
Mexican
do
or
unless
Puerto
you're
Rican. They
right.
just
They,
want the most talented person. But Hollywood doesn't. To Hollywood,
unless
that does
they
matter.
tell you
We
why
evolved to a
they
place where we
why
were
they
properly
decided to make that
representing
kind of
the
movie.
people that the story's about.
I'm not Puerto Rican.
Is that okay?
I feel like it's none of my business.
You have the thickest, most
Bro, the
well-IQ,
white
most
savior
unable to
movies.
abstract people in your entertainment industry who can only see the
I
world
mean,
from their own perspective.
dude, have you
and
seen
so
some of
they
the
can only
Chinese movies?
appreciate their own world. Every bit of
Dude, some of
information
these
has to be
Asian
filtered
movies are
through them,
insane.
and they think the rest of the world is as low quality as they are. They even
Yeah, I
continue
mean,
that, well,
all
you know,
these
Southeast Asian countries,
every
China, Korea, they
right
can move at a
movie,
fast pace.
right?
Tastes
The
and
entertainment
trends happen
industry
very
does
quickly.
not
And during
discriminate.
lockdown, because
Right.
Hollywood wasn't
They will
sending
make
them
whatever
entertainment,
movie
their
they think will
entertainment
make
industries
money.
filled in the gaps, and
Same with
Hollywood
video
hasn't come
games.
back. They're just not
I mean, you can
interested
kind
anymore.
of see it
was
with
true that that
the
broke a habit,
lawmaking
but
and
the habit
everything.
was, I don't really like foreign movies because I can't understand what they're saying.
In the
But
early
once you
2000s,
actually
yeah.
break through that and go and start experiencing foreign you realize it's just better. This is the true problem of Hollywood, but they'll never face that fact. Think that quality is the problem. Instead, no, it's because they move too quickly, because just Japanese.
I mean, if
people
you
like
were
looking at
to,
Japanese
you
people.
could
So now there are
probably
more
look
Hollywood
up a
movies
whole
being
list
made,
of them
but the
right
local
now.
market share is now
Like
30 to
literally
50%
search it
of the
right
entire
now.
market.
You can
And
find a
that's just
list of
in
a whole
cinemas,
bunch of
without
movies
even
that have
thinking
the
about competition from
right all these
streaming
fucked up
services or
tropes.
YouTube, or even for the particularly brave. Going
Name a
outside,
fucked up
Hollywood is in a
trope.
position
Yeah,
where
it's
had
probably
more competition
there's a
than
movie
ever
that probably
before.
has it.
High-level competition than ever before. Competition which is specifically being tailored to an audience, and yet is entirely unwilling to think, maybe we're the problem.
Hands,
Maybe we're the problem? Hey, man.
are we the baddie?
The creative space to make a new IP or anything like that. I mean, you got to push the boundaries somewhere, right? I mean, some people do it in fucking drastic ways, but yeah. The Blind Side, Freedom Riders, McFarlane. You is the one movie that the star Matthew Perry that plays a school teacher. Yeah. Yep. There's tons of movies.
Because there is nothing about Hollywood which is high quality anymore. Everyone's commenting about how CGI looks worse than it did 15 years ago, and things are just being made without a script. The Boys showrunner Eric Kripke says scripts for season 5 are half written, despite filming being underway. Over a month ago,
there's
they had the first
also
look for a
not
new
just
season.
white
Half the episodes are still
savior
unwritten. And
movies
he
too,
thinks
right? You
it's
have
because we're
other
used to changing
races
things
too.
as the world changes. Even in season 1, the whole me as well movement kicked off. They just decided to crowbar that into the TV series. And he thinks this is normal. That doesn't really scare us. That's par for the course. You're always rewriting things right up until the day of the shoot.
Each culture
And
kind
sometimes the day
of
of the shoot. That's insane.
each country
Yes,
kind
maybe you
of
can know, well,
does
that
like
line
their
doesn't
own
actually work, but you
fucking
should
right.
probably have your
Their
script finished before you
savior
start filming.
movies,
You
right?
should know what it's like. You should know whether it's going to be good. Not sitting there in the room going, this is awful. I'm a hack. I don't make a script for these videos, but I don't pretend to spend $200 million on them. If I did, I'd put an extra couple of days into it. And yet, The Boys is going up against international entertainment with classic stories. Whereas what is The Boys offering? Typical American entertainment.
Yeah.
As he says, I think The Boys is probably, for better or worse, a political show at this point. Season 4 was political, and we just sort of lean into it.
Yeah, I
What
mean,
that
if
does
you-
is cut off
if you were to look at like Netflix and Amazon on how they produce movies nowadays, yeah, it's yeah. Some of those movies you cannot play those in other countries, that's for sure. I loved these kinds of movies as a kid. They feel good, but there's a sense of reality that suddenly hits you when you realize that these white savior movies are not real. Yeah. There's just movie stories making me feel that these white savior characters aren't real and don't really give a shit about minorities. Yeah.
world from your entertainment, because I don't care if you're some kind of weird, evil political lunatic. Look, your taste on how much you want to destroy the world can stay over there in California, where it doesn't affect me. But I'm not going to go and spend my time watching a TV show about it, especially a poorly made, badly written one, where you can't even bother to finish the script before you start filming it. Because the show has always been about this. Just various different delusions.
Wait, they didn't write half the script? They wrote half of it, and the other half they didn't finish? Grows this darkly comic satire into a franchise and spoofs a certain trial and presidential election in the new season. He's fine losing viewers who just figured out his social... Go watch something else. Oh, yeah, they're running out of ideas. Right, how many seasons is The Boys at right now? Yeah, usually after what? After like 3 seasons? Yeah, after 3 seasons, it's like, you probably shouldn't make any more. They're having a 5th season? Oh god. Yeah, honestly, I think after like 2 or 3 seasons, that's it. You gotta cut it off. Yeah, I feel like if you don't plan out for if you're not planning out for like if you're not planning the show to be like 7 seasons out the get-go, you're not gonna succeed. If you don't have that sort of planned out right at the get-go, you're fucked. So I think these guys are like planning out these guys are only planning out 2 seasons, right? But then people keep watching and wanting more, but they haven't planned out any more. So there's like, fuck, we're on a tight rope now, because we don't have, after filming these things, we don't have enough time to make a new script or something new for the next couple seasons, right? Yeah, dude. That's bad, dude. Right. Well, that's just my line of thinking. I don't know if that's the case, but I feel like some of these guys are they're shooting themselves in the foot.
About this. Just various different delusions and fetishes.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if the only time the script got any work done to it was after a wet dream. Oh yeah, tell me what you're gonna do to me next. What are you gonna do to that house to make it
even
to know?
Yeah, even some of these shows, I feel like they just go on way too long. Right? I mean, when I'm at a point right now for me personally. I have a story in mind that's only enough for 3 seasons. I want to make 4 seasons, but I only have enough for 3. I think I'm going for only 3 seasons because I don't want to milk it like Walking Dead did. Yeah, you do have to be careful too because you don't, right? You don't even know how the first 2 seasons are gonna hit either, and then right, so it's like, right, you're playing with chances here. Right, you're playing with a lot of chances here. What? Well, uh, the Daredevil TV show from yeah, this one. How many seasons was this? They did 3 seasons. Honestly, I think 3 seasons is probably the sweet spot. Yeah, I think this is 3 seasons. But yeah, even this show, Daredevil, this was a pretty good show, but they only did 3 seasons. But then they're also making a second. They're making a second show now, right? Born Again, right? Don't know how many seasons this is gonna have, but I would assume it's going to have either 2 or 3 seasons, like the first one did. Uh, just check out the show Dark. The time travel, really well written show, but it only has 3 seasons. There's no season 4 because there's no story left to tell. And they did a good job trying to milk it. Same goes for Squid Games. Squid Games season 3 is going to be a final season. Ah, okay. The Squid Games has, yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, because, yeah, if you have not planned out something like for the long haul, you're not going to succeed. Especially, you don't, because how, in, also, it depends on how people are, right, what people are saying, right, what the comments section, right, how people are perceiving each season too. Is it right? So you do have to kind of like keep your hand on the pulse to make sure that all the seasons you're making are doable, right? There's enough people that are going to watch it, right? You're not gonna, right? All the cost and everything is going to be doable, right? All that shit. Why they don't plan ahead? Yeah, that's yeah. A lot of shows have been getting canceled too. That too. Yeah. What was it? Dark. This one, the thriller show. When 2 children go missing in a small German town, it's sinful path. Oh, yeah, I heard about this actually. Yeah. It's sinful paths that explode double lives and fractured relations that exist among 4 families as they search for their kids. Mystery drama series introduces an intricate puzzle filled with twists that includes a web of curious characters, all of whom have a connection to the town's troubled history, whether they know it or not. The story includes supernatural elements that tie back to the same town in 1986. Dark represents the first German original series produced for Netflix. Yeah. Interesting. But yeah. A lot of shows go the movie style 8 episodes kind of show. Yeah, I know. Yeah. So yeah, so sometimes they go 8. What is it? 8, 10, 12. What? Sometimes right? 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, sometimes 13. Right? It really depends on how much they're trying to, right, what kind of side stories they have in that season, or what if they need to clean some loose ends to some story or whatever in that season or whatever, right? So it just really depends on right, whatever their screenwriting and play is, right? Do you think the budget or it's just a self-centered show? I mean, I would have to say both. I would have to say both. Cause the company, cause they're right. You're asking these companies to show off your movie or to distribute your movie, right? Also with art, it's a yeah, the thing is this is entertainment art in a sense. So there's kind of some leeway in what you can do and right say and whatnot. So I would say it's a little bit of both. Like not a lot of characters to follow like the show Lost. Oh, you mean like people going off script and stuff like that? Is that what you mean? Kind of like the whole Witcher thing and how Henry Cavill wanted to do a certain way and then the script writers were doing it a different way and he got pissed off at that.
And it's the same guy who says he's afraid of the show becoming the thing they've been satirizing for 5 years, which would be weird because that happened in season 2. But at no point does the Hollywood mind stop to think, does our audience care about this or is it just me? What will the people in Japan think of this series? Do you think they'll care as much about a man with a spray tan? As ever, people are allowed to their opinion, but your opinion shapes how you interpret the world. Especially if, like Hollywood, you can't abstract, you can only perceive the world from your perspective. In that case,
Like back then, shows would have a huge cast, like the show Lost, where it was a huge cast. I've seen the show, but there's a lot of characters in it. That's enough to make stories to last a lot of seasons. Yes, you're correct. Yeah, the way they did it in Lost is they had a huge cast, and so that's how they padded. You're right. That's how they padded the stories out. Because they also went through kind of like how some of these guys ended up on the island, right? They went through their personal biography sometimes. So yeah, they could pad out a lot of stuff through these seasons. How many seasons did Lost have? I forgot. Like what, 10 seasons? 6 seasons. Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, you don't yeah, that's a lot of seasons. But yeah. Yeah, that's one way to do it. Right, have a bunch of characters with their own personal backstories that you can pad out the story, because you can then, right, if they have their own side stories and whatnot, then all those side stories can intertwine with the right main story in some way, shape, or form. Ow, that hurt. I hit my hand on the chair.
every single problem will be filtered through your personal beliefs. And if your personal beliefs don't actually align with reality, Every decision you make will be wrong, and you'll be unable to realize this because you can't comprehend a point of view that isn't yours. It's literally impossible for you to think that one exists. The only alternative is that they hate what you like.
What I care about is the reality of goodness, not the perception of it. And what I see all over the place is people who care about looking good while doing evil.
That's how you end up with the idea that, well, you know, Indonesia...
WEF, WHO, Hollywood, basically. Right, some of these actors get into some shady shit, and they still, right, put them in the movies. Ezra Miller, for instance, dude's a piece of shit. Still played him in tons of movies.
Asia just has 65% of their market because they like looking at Indonesian people. You know, it's just because they can relate to these people. Southeast Asian countries, they just want Southeast Asian people in their movies. It's common sense. What they want is representation. So if we add that into American movies, we'll get...
Yeah, who would have thunk? Oh, you're gonna try to market to these Asian or to these other countries that have different representations. Like, come on, man. You know that their demographic is different. Wait, what's going on with Asians? They wanted representation in certain movies. So if the main protagonist or some of the characters don't like fit their right representation, they won't watch the movie or like the movie. That's why there's like region locking and stuff like that. And right, because each culture likes different things and how they, right, you're also dealing with the different laws of like how they view entertainment, right? So you're doing a lot of different shit, right? The entertainment for how America sees, right, entertainment is different to how people in China see entertainment, right? Because they have their own entertainment in terms of what movies they see, because it's heavily regulated.
The same game. They'll never think it's the quality of what they produce.
Even EU and
produce
London, right? Or UK.
System. And what is their value system?
All their
well,
movies
Anthony
are
Mackie
somewhat
movie
regulated to
didn't
their
actually think he was
tastes,
going to
too.
become Captain America. Instead, in Endgame, they're like, they're getting rid of me, man. And he was like, I'm like, damn, you know, being black, I'm like, I'm gonna die, damn. Like, they're getting rid of me, man. I know quotes are supposed to be exactly what someone says.
Yeah.
When they do speak like a 3-year-old, perhaps.
Yeah, it's kind of like. Eesh.
I just found it interesting. The reason why he thought he was going to. He's
there's
like, oh
nothing to
my
help
god,
that.
it is because I'm obsessed with my own perspective, so I view everything through the world through me. Or you've got Rami Malek. I was subject to a racial profiling incident because I looked like a criminal. I fit a description, and he's like, I can't believe I've been subjected to such film. I mean,
yeah, oh
apparently
my
he's
god,
Egyptian,
who would
and
have
I'm just like,
thunk
have we just
being racial profiled in 2024? Oh my, or 2025.
all
Oh,
worked out this is a magic spell and we're trying to cast it on
hate to
ourselves
say it,
now.
but
All
yeah,
we
racial
have, and I
racial
don't know how to
profiling
pronounce his
hasn't
name.
stopped.
It just looks like Digimon. I can't get it out of my head. But he talks about how he's struggling to financially make a living as he's underpaid in Hollywood. And how he's been making films for over 2 decades with Oscar nominations. And he's been in many blockbuster films. And yet he's struggling financially. I mean, he's made so much money, but he's still struggling. And
Yeah,
that
that's
is
weird.
Because of
These
systemic racism. And that's not so.
Yeah, I find that weird too. A lot of these movie actors, they've made probably tons and tons of money from all these movies they do, but somehow they're still financially struggling? Like, what? How does that make any sense?
Something you can deal with lightly. I mean, look, he may have got a load of money, and he may have been bad with it and spent it all. But that's not his fault. That's just because the entire world is against him, because he perceives himself different than them, and that must be their fault. One of the key parts of being unable to abstract is projection. No, instead, this discrimination is so deeply inserted into so many things we do across the board, you just can't overcome it. You just have to cope with it and survive the best you can as an A-list Hollywood actor who's been in the business for decades with multiple Oscar nominations.
Yeah.
And don't you know, that means he's oppressed.
He's oppressed with all the money he's made.
And they can't understand why they're rejecting it. This is so abnormal, so far removed from the rest of the world and other cultures. Why would they want to pay you to see this stuff? Why is everyone surprised when these celebrities can't pull people in internationally? Why does Hollywood think me reading this makes me want to go and see him in the cinema? Because this is just
Yeah,
a
I mean,
lack
you
of
start
accountability
saying
for his
shit
own
like
finances.
that,
If you
people
make a
start
lot of
not
money and
wanting
then
to
don't have
see
a lot
you
of
in
money at the end of
films
it,
because you
that's
said
your
some
fault.
fucking
These
stupid
youth, bro.
shit.
What are you gonna do?
So the reason why this foreign
Yeah,
entertainment
just look at Wicked. I bet barely anyone went to see that film because of those two dumbass bitches.
kicking off. It's
Bunch
not
of fucking
because they're
activist
people that they can
whores.
relate to. That's a Hollywood idea. That's
Sorry,
a
I don't mean to
Californian
fucking be
idea.
mean
It's
about
because
them,
they can
but
relate
come,
to their
like, what
cultural
are you
productions. They
doing?
can relate to the values of their culture, which are represented in their entertainment. And America could have done that if you had a masculine industry and put male values, heroic values, into your movies. That would resonate around the world. Most of the world, for almost the entirety of history, has been led by male values. It's been led by a justice-based morality. Because it's that justice-based morality, the heroic values,
Yeah,
which
I mean, they're
resonates internationally.
right. They're
It's the
trying
man standing
to
up and doing men things
right
that
virtue
resonates with a
signal their
male
fucking
audience.
own
And instead, in
ideology and
Hollywood, we
right
get them
try and
doing
glorify
local
it to you
Californian political shows
and be like, you
with
must
extreme
follow it.
beliefs
It's
that
like,
anyone
no,
with just
fuck
a
off.
basic knowledge of reality can't get
I hate
behind.
your
They
fucking
offer you
movies. I'm
things
not watching
about
them.
deconstruction, where you're a superhero show, but you deconstruct and break down the superhero, the absurdities of superheroes. You poke fun at the hero and how stupid a world of heroes would be because heroes are horrible people. That's the care-based morality that looks at justice and goes, well, that isn't equal. That means it's evil. They look at heroes as if they're evil because they give people what they deserve. What they deserve isn't the same as other people. What you deserve varies according to your actions. It leads to inequality. And that's a good thing, because some people do deserve to be in prison, and other people don't. But Hollywood,
I hate to say it, but the law isn't fair. Right there, we can all say, oh yeah, there's fairness and reality and blah blah blah, but no, I hate to say it, but in the actuality of life isn't fair. Right. You get fucking slapped with fucking mutations. You get slapped with cancer out of nowhere sometimes. Right? You get hit with diseases because you let yourself go sometimes. Right? Any number of reasons. Right? Life is unfair.
Can't realize that. Unable to abstract, they interpret everything through themselves. And they know they're horrible people. They know what they'd be like if they had the power of a superhero. They know they'd be horrible with that power, that they'd do horrific things with that power. And that's why they recoil from the idea of anyone being in power. But that deep self-loathing, the knowledge of your own inadequacy, the knowledge that you're evil, means you can't write good stories. You can write something like Game of Thrones, but you won't be able to finish it. Because to finish that story, you would need a hero being heroic. And if heroes are possible, if being good is possible, and you're evil, then it's your fault. You're responsible for where your life is. And that shames you.
You're evil for disliking our movies and not watching them. You're evil for not believing in our lessons and buying into our movies.
You'd have to accept that your life was your fault rather than the system's. Or even worse, that would mean the system doesn't owe them any special privileges. Because if stories meant to teach people about the world, put them through dangerous situations without actually needing them to live through it with the risk entailed, teach them how to cope with those situations, then good must victor over evil. And that's simply not a story which evil will ever want to write. They're not even capable of understanding it, because they can't tell you why hierarchy is better than equality. And that is the fundamental difference between
see, you said
heroes
good.
and evil. There has to be values which are better than other values, because otherwise...
see, I don't see it as
that realization
there's no
hurt
such
people
thing as
Hollywood.
good
You
and
might have to
evil, I'm
start
sorry.
wondering.
Are we the baddies?
For those of
Are we
you
the
thoughts, what are
ba-
yours? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe. More videos like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
I mean, in morality terms, yes, there's good and bad. But when it comes down to making a choice that could probably change the course of history, at that point it's kind of like you gotta weigh your options, right? Gotta weigh your options. Hollywood box office have declined around the world. Hollywood thinks that is because... Never interrupt your enemies while they're making a mistake. Let them continue to go under. Yeah, no, exactly. right? If your enemies keep shooting themselves in the foot, just let it happen, right? I mean, they'll eventually see the error of their ways, maybe. Of course, they have not learned. After all, Kathy Kennedy is getting an award for contributions to cinematography. Yeah, even with Nobel Peace Prizes, there have been some people who shouldn't have gotten Nobel Peace Prizes. And there's some people who deserve Nobel Peace Prizes but never got one, right? It just happens. It's right. It's unfortunate, but you got you got weird judge panels that dictate who gets what, right? Even though they don't represent the whole of the people. They represent a small group of minorities who judge everyone. Sounds like a governing body, if you know what I mean. By their logic, the only reason I liked Sonic 3 was because I never felt more represented than by a blue and black CG. A red echidna? What? What the fuck is this? Oh, is that fucking Knuckles? And a fox with two tails. Oh, it's this thing. It looks like a fucking Oh, it's from Australia. That's why. They're the New Guinea. They're like porcupines. Echidnas. How do you say their names? It's not. Yeah, it's not a hedgehog, but yes, they are similar. They're basically the Australian hedgehog in a sense, but they're not hedgehogs. Hedgehogs have a different right. Hedgehogs are different anatomy and actual body, and they have different characteristics too. So that's why they're not the same.
Echidna.
Echidna. Okay. There we go. How do you trick people into watching bad movies? The secret to success: make better movies, sell more tickets. Alfred Hitchcock said that there were 3 things that made a good movie: the script, the script, the script. He's not wrong. It still rings true today. His movies are way better than anything made in the last 10 years. Who was the person who was like, if you want a great place, right, you have to choose the best location. Location, location, location. Yeah, it's basically that saying, right? Right. If you wanted to do something right creative and planned, or you have to have it planned out. MLK is rolling over his grave. In his grave, his message was for the oppressed to stand up and succeed on their own merit. Yeah, not whine about being oppressed and not representing a ball on social media. Yikes. Yeah, then cry about wanting reparations and then wanting to basically give free money away that we don't really have, but they still want it, even though they do nothing, and they just bitch and moan. They give it to the illegals for free. They give it to the drug addict homeless people who keep using drugs, right? Alright, we go. Disparu.